Test, test. This is the test, test, test. This is the test.
Good test. What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. As always, I'm Nate, and joining me is my idiot brother, Zachary.
Rude.
No, shut the fuck up. You're an idiot, and I hate you today. He's being so mean to me lately, so I'm starting this out being rude to him.
Hello, kind folks. I'm just a young gent here trying to do my thing and bring you information about A Song of Ice and Fire, and this is my rude brother who does that.
That's what we do, reread A Song of Ice and Fire. This is the one and only warning at the top of the episode. We are full spoiler.
We always say one and only. We're full of shit.
Yeah,
we're full of shit.
We'll remind you later when we're about to spoil something. So,
Maybe.
last episode, we were reading Arya 4. Right? Am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Am I on the wrong? What the fuck is happening with my notes? Then I missed a chapter. Sorry.
Last
Sorry,
episode, we were reading Danny 2.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
That's right.
With Danny in the Plaza of Pride.
There it is.
Meeting Krasnez, Dick all, and looking at the Unsullied for the first time at the sort of behest of Sir Jorah Mormont, and she was disgusted by what she saw and heard, not by the impressiveness of the Unsullied, of course, because no one can deny their impressiveness, but by the brutal training regimen that they are forced to go through and how they're treated more like objects than people. But she returned to her ship, promising to ponder over the deal of this scumbag slaver, and on board basically lashes out at Jorah, saying, fuck you for bringing me here, because now I've got to do something about this, you're a piece of shit. Plus, she's also PTSD'd from him groping the fuck out of her, as any person in their right mind would be. And then she did some finger blast in action, and her dragons were pissed, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Danny's struggling with some
She's
stuff.
prepping to take control, and it's going to be fucking sick. But we're not reading Danny this episode.
I hope not.
We are reading Bran. Brandon Stark.
Brandon Stark.
We're not reading Arya either.
No.
I fixed my notes, so we're all good to go.
Last we left Brandon after leaving Winterfell after the events of Clash of Kings, due to it being sacked by the Greyjoys, and then the tomfuckery, as we know. Full spoiler reread, see, we told you we'd warn you again.
That Ramsay Bolton comes in, strews
fucked
across.
shit up in Winterfell and basically put it to the torch, and Bran and company were forced to leave.
They hid in the crypts, they snuck out, and they decided it best, Meera, Jojen, Osha, that it would be...
Split them up.
Right.
It's too dangerous to keep Bran and Rickon together unless someone finds them. Then they have both living Stark boys instead of just one. Meera and Rickon were kind of undecided. Maybe Last Hearth, maybe White Harbor. There's plenty of places they could go. Sketchy, but sure. Hopefully they're dope, and we know they, full spoiler, end up in Skagos.
Osha and Bran?
Osha and Rickon, sorry.
Rickon, yeah, you said Meera.
Meera and Rickon?
Yeah.
Osha and Rickon.
Yeah.
We know they end up at Skagos. And Bran, Jojen, and Meera in the last chapter, the first of A Storm of Swords, Bran decides that instead of going to the Wall to see Jon Snow or Last Hearth or White Harbor, he wants to go north to the Wall to see the Crow, to potentially learn to fly.
Learn to fly like an eagle.
Bran
like
2,
in this chapter.
A Storm of Swords.
Bran, Meera, and Jojen are on their way. They're heading through the mountains north, in the northern parts of the realm. I think I would have to guess probably just south of the Gift or entering the Gift.
Yeah, I think they're entering the Gift
But they're in the mountains of that. And so who really knows at this point? Because we're getting that they're having to go back and forth and up and down and just...
Yeah, long ago they left the road behind, and using the eye of the Ice Dragon, which is a constellation in the sky, and the blue eye always pointed north, according to Osha, which is fun. I liked her little stories.
Yeah.
They've been old school roughing it of there's no road to follow, so we're following the North Star. And yeah, they're not on any path, so it's a mountainous kind of valley ridgy region, so they've got a zigzag, cut back, go this way, curve around.
Meera starts complaining about the mountains, which leads Bran to be like, but you said yesterday that you love the mountains. And she's like, yeah, I can do both. You know, it's all right. Sometimes you can love stuff and then hate it. Get off my back, bro.
Yeah, Bran doesn't get that. He's like, you can't love something and hate it. What are you even, Meera? Come on. But Jojen, of course, little grandfather, has something to say on that. He says, if ice can burn, then love and hate can mate. Mountain or marsh, it makes no matter. The land is one. We are one. I like Jojen a lot.
Yeah, I know you do.
That line is significant, but I'm going to hold that thought. Stay tuned, listeners, for another episode, because
Next episode?
Yes, that has something, I think, very important to do with Davos 3, our next chapter. And so I'll have a point to bring that back up. But Jojen, of course, dropping his little wisdom bombs. So they were forced to follow the glens, often having to double back and travel in the wrong direction for quite a ways at a time.
It leads to Bran complaining a lot about, let's just take the fucking road.
If we had taken the Kingsroad, we'd be at the wall already.
Jojen has to constantly remind him, which just goes to show how young Bran is. When Jojen's like, dude, there's travelers on the road. If we're caught, you're being sought after. It's kind of hard to miss stories of a giant, a cripple, and the two tiny folk.
And the wolf.
Like, come on now.
And Bran just thinks that no one could get as stubborn as Jojen, so they pressed on. All right, Bran. And the weather runs the full gambit. Wind, rain, sleet at some points. It's a total, clusterfuck. They're making some moves here. Clear days made it seem as if they were the only living things in the world, which I really like. Just this really sort of isolating. They're on an adventure. It feels very Lord of the Rings of Sam and Frodo just off on their own type thing.
Yeah, Meera gets to asking if there's even, are there people up here? Is it just, there's nothing in the north? I thought there were some people
up here.
And Bran starts listing off some of them. The Umbers, the Wulls, the Harclays, Knots, Littles, and Norries? Yep, and then even Flints. And Jojen is like, yo, there is a Wull that traveled with Howland, with Dad, with Pops.
That's Theo Wull.
Yeah, I didn't write his first name down.
He rode with Howland Reed in the war, and we also find out that Eddard Stark's mother's mother was a Flint, according to Old Non, at least. And so there's a little bit of interesting history there. And Jojen asks, do you think they know we're here? And Bran says, they know. And then thinks that he had spied them, not with his own eyes, but with Summers, who can see things that most people miss. And he says they'll only bother us, if we plan on stealing their goats or messing with any of their shit. So if we leave them alone, they'll leave us alone. And that proved to be the case until they did encounter one person one night when some particularly harsh rain forced them to seek cover. Hodor found a cave, but as they went to enter, it was already occupied. There was a fire lit within, and a voice calls out inviting them in. So, of course, the reasonable thing to do is to go inside and join the shelter. And they get inside, and the man never gives his name, nor asks theirs, but Bran takes him for a little, as his cloak is fastened with a cloak in the shape of a pine cone, and the little sigil is half pine cone, half something else, and
I really like this. It's like it shows like the spirit of the North. It's this. There's one cave. The elements are harsh right now. You're not doing me any harm. Share my shit. Let's not both die.
Yeah, I also sort of like we're not gonna ask questions of each other and exchange information because it's a dangerous time right now. So
right.
So he offers them some food, and Bran asks him if it's far to the wall, which I think is a little too telling.
Right.
It's sort of like, Bran, shut up. But he says not so far as the crow flies, but for them that's not got wings, quite a ways yet. And Bran again complains about the Kingsroad, but
then we get some good information.
The important quote, which I don't know if you have it.
Not the quote.
No, basically the gist of it is that when there was a Stark in Winterfell, a maid girl could walk in her name day gown down the Kingsroad and go unmolested. And the inns were open and welcoming, but the nights are colder now. There's squids in the Wolf's Wood, and flayed men ride the Kingsroad, asking after strangers. And Meera and Jojen exchange a look at this, because they pick up on it, as Bran may not, but...
Well, and that's what's funny is...
Bolton men are supposed to be Northmen. Why are they
riding up
running around in the north in the Wolfswood,
searching for people,
endangering Northmen. Like this guy, if he is a little Flint Nori, he's afraid of them, right?
Yeah.
And so why is that? What the fuck?
And I think that's interesting that it again shows that, because we know that they're knowledged, but they're clearly knowledged in the sigils and who's supposed to have fealty where.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a very weird moment for them, and I think clarifying it kind of.
And also, we get the Stark in Winterfell. Is there something to that?
Right.
Like, did the North become more dangerous now because something's broken? It's a very clever use of the Stark line not delivered by a Stark.
Or is that just the... Like, because
showing the importance of the family.
If there's a Stark in Winterfell, then justice and honor is going to be upheld.
It's solidified a little more.
If you commit a crime, you're going to serve the punishment. Right. So you don't do that.
The Starks won't let you get by with it. Yeah, type
it's
of thing.
More. Of
no, for sure, I could see that.
But
how it's
it could definitely be some kind of an ancient, spell.
But this man that Bran believes to be a little goes on saying, "Yes, the bastard's boys. He was dead, but now he's not. And paying good silver for wolf pelts a man hears, and maybe gold for word of a certain other walking dead." And he looks at Bran and Summer as he says this. So, he knows who the fuck they are.
Right.
At least Bran, Hodor, and Summer.
He also knows that Ramsay's dangerous.
Is this a little?
Yes.
You think so?
I suppose that's hard to say. Bran assumes so. Bran's usually pretty good at identifying people and traits.
Yeah.
We've seen that. But there's no way to confirm or guarantee.
I mean, he sees a fucking pine cone pin and is just jumping to, yes, he must be a little. That only makes up half the sigil. Like, why wouldn't it be a pin of the full sigil if he's a little? So,
who knows?
I feel like this is more north of the wall shit happening.
Brendan Rivers is leading him or something?
I feel like this is like maybe even someone with the Children of the Forest, and that's their little class.
Or something.
Like, it just, the assumption that it's just a little and it's taken that quickly, and I'm sure I actually didn't look into it. I'm sure there's 1,000,001 theories about who this person is or may be and why there's 1,000% evidence proving he is a little or is not. But, it's an interesting one, and I have no good guess. I feel like there's some more to this. Bran, they needed shelter.
But I think that a little would definitely behave that way. Seeing
for sure.
This is
I could
Stark.
see him being a Northman.
He's clearly been driven out of his home. I'm going to give him as much protection as I can.
But it's interesting that Martin specifically tells us that food, game
is scarce.
Grew scarce. And then they're seeking shelter because the rain is driving them in. They find shelter. And this man has food.
I think that's more evidence that he is, because the Littles live up here. They're more accustomed on how to obtain that kind of stuff. So maybe he was out just foraging, or on his way back home, he knows the mountains, has some food.
I mean, it could just also be a chance to show sort of the North loyalty. But it feels a little more mystical to me, but I don't know. Anyway, he says that the wall isn't any place he'd be wanting to go anyway.
Because there were ravens. Lord Mormont took all the Night's Watch and headed into the haunted forest.
Yeah.
And nothing has come back except for ravens.
Bearing
dark
scarce a word between them.
Right.
And as we know, these are from Sam, who wrote the messages, but forgot to actually get them out. And so...
Dark wings, dark woods.
But... Little interpreted it correctly.
Right.
They showed up with nothing. Obviously, that's not good. That means that they didn't have chances to get the messages off. So, the messages interpreted. Good on you, Sam, for getting the birds off. At least getting some warning out. And
how does he know this?
In my notes. He's close to the wall.
Okay.
The closest, if he's in the gift, in the new gift, I would believe, or he's from north of the fucking wall. I speculate.
Right.
It's.
Do you think it's like not in my usual joking manner, but
something
potentially
with cold hands
coming down?
That's where my line of thinking went.
And this is just the first trace of him.
But I feel like because Bran's the one who runs into cold hands later, that would have.
Because it could even be like a Benjen Stark glamored or some shit like that. Like some
right,
crazy
yeah,
nonsense.
I don't know.
Who
Is
knows
there
how
magic
crazy
like
it
that?
gets.
Is that pin somewhat magical and it's
Right.
Children of the Forest magic? Who knows? Yeah, that was more my thinking, is that this person is here as a guide, as a replenishment station, in video game terms, as a fucking save point, if you will, of like, you're doing good, kid, keep going. Like,
Yeah.
here you go. It's about to get rougher. Like,
And so the next bit is what makes me think a little less so that he might be something mystical and more, he's just a little.
Yeah.
Is Jojen says, don't worry, the Starks will return to Winterfell. And he's like, well, how do you know that? Well, I dreamed it. Well, I dreamed my mother last week, and she's been dead for 20 years. Don't make it any more likely to happen.
right.
There are dreams in their dreams, my lord. And I think him having that, like, your dreams aren't shit. Like, if it was more magical, I don't think he would be shooting that down as much.
I do, because it would just be a distraction. Bran would want he would want answers. He would ask questions. Jojen would be intrigued. It would pull away from their journey. And so and he doesn't really discredit Jojen. He just says, I dreamed that my dead mother came back to life. That didn't happen. And Jojen's saying, well, right, like, there's your dreams and then there's my dreams. And so it's kind of that. Like, I could absolutely almost seeing it being that intervention of, he's not going to be like, right, the green dreams that are all mystical and knowing, because
Right.
it could prove to be a distraction. Of course, he could just be a little. Like, but
Who knows?
For me, it's fun to think that there's something a little more
And
at
they
play
sleep.
here. And they go sleep. Yeah, and come morning, the little, in quotes, is gone, but he had left a sausage for them and some oatcakes,
Hell
which
yeah.
Bran has trouble deciding which one he likes better. And then there was this quote. One day there would be Starks in Winterfell again, he told himself. And then he'd send for the littles and pay them back 100-fold for every nut. And that line does not feel pleasant to me in any way. That feels ominous to me in just a...
if they had wronged him in some
Well,
way, or the
and that's
Starks,
like,
but-
right, that's almost where my line of thinking goes,
But I
is
don't
that
know if they-
this man wasn't a little, and he has no true reason to thank the littles.
Right.
And, like, that's just sort of, it just feels ominous, like, because Tyrion's delivered a similar line, I'm going to
sure,
summon them and pay back everything that, like, I owe them type of thing, and it's just a, how are you meaning this, Bran? But he's just a kid, of course, so he's not thinking, murder. But as they walk on, they end up seeing an eagle gliding.
Look, an eagle. It's up there flying.
And Bran tries to join with it, but is unable to. Interesting. Right?
Do you think that's because it's
Already occupied?
already occupied?
I think it's Orel.
Perhaps. I think that's just a bit much.
Yeah, I do too.
And it's more Bran's lack of training.
I mean,
in touching other creatures.
I would have to double check, but I feel like we just did get word that Varamir may be scouting.
That's potential.
And so it could be Varamir.
Right,
And it could
and that's
just
kinda
be
what I was-
Occupado, sorry. Like, no
Right.
vacancy in here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so he's not able to for that reason, which...
And so I think that might be something that Martin's intending.
Oh, right.
But at the same
It serves
time-
two purposes of sort of not overpowering Bran too early in the story and sort of dejecting him a little. I'm not as good as I should be because they were supposedly able to do multiple animals. I can't.
Right.
But no, you can. This one just happens to be scouting. It's already warged, and so
Right.
you can't. And so it kind of keeps Bran in the spot where he's at, where he's angry. He still wants to learn more, but he thinks he's incapable, and really there is a simpler, not Bran's failure explanation for it, and I'd like to think that it is, and so it's neat. But Jojen comments on how Hodor likes it when Bran says Hodor's name.
What the fuck?
And Bran reveals that Hodor is not his name. It is just a word. He says his real name is Walder. Old Nan told Bran this.
So, as we know, Martin has confirmed that the creation of Hodor's name is Bran related, and it's similar to what's going to happen, what happened in the show. That motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
He, right here, just the way that Jojen directly points out that Hodor likes it when you say his name. It's almost like there's some kind of a strange comfort
Right.
in that word
That
being
connection
spoken
by
by
Bran.
Bran. And Hodor has that vague understanding of, you're the one who did this to me.
Yeah.
But no understanding of how or why
Right.
or what it actually entails or
Unless,
means yet.
or there's the flip, and
He
knows
completely
everything.
understands
Yeah.
and has accepted it because he's
And
seen
it's
why.
Hodor is Hodor. Like,
he's the perfect Hodor. Like, I'm
Hodor
here for you,
is
buddy.
what happened. Yeah.
I got you, man.
Yeah, type of thing. Absolutely.
His real name was Walda, and I think that's interesting because we know that
Bran's hatred for
he hates
anything Walder.
Walders.
Yeah.
And we'll get even more of that again
Right.
here in just a second.
that was where I was immediately going to be taking this. Is Bran has nothing but venom toward anything associated with the name Walder. And is
And
that
so I
is
think
that
it's this-
foreshadowing for this Hodor
I think
thing?
it is partially, absolutely, because I think that Martin knew writing this right now.
What happened?
What
with
happened
them?
to Hodor?
Yeah.
And that it's not necessarily a venom towards the hatred at Walder. It's a venom at himself for refusing Hodor to ever be allowed to be called Walder. Like, he demonized that name by forcing Hodor
Well,
out
I mean,
of
that's,
it. And,
I think, future, when it hits Bran, that he
Right.
did it for sure, and then he
And so I think-
solidifies
think
it by
that's-
calling him Hodor all his life, not realizing it yet, that you're the one who gave him this name because you broke his mind, and then all your life, your family just called him Hodor, which is technically almost like degrading in
Right.
this circumstance. You're just sort of breaking him, like in a Reek scenario of Hodor, it rhymes
And so
with
that's
hold
it.
the
Part of me
door.
thinks it's this loop where, like,
Right.
because he fucked with Hodor and Hodor can't use the name Walder, he has this venom at himself for that, which he lashes out unknowingly
the other
towards
Walders.
Walders. You get to use
That's
Walder.
interesting. That's
Why
the
is
way
it
it
that
comes
you
from.
get to be Walder,
I
but
bet
he
later in the
doesn't?
story, I bet they were Walder. I bet they were Freys, Walders.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Sounds like something little Walder would
Little
do.
Walder would do.
Yeah,
So he has
maybe
this
it is.
hatred
Yeah,
towards the name
absolutely.
subconsciously
because he destroyed it.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then he thinks, on that point, about Old Nan and wonders if she was killed by the Ironborn, as he doesn't recall seeing any women or old people slaughtered as he made his way out. And
Poor
he
Nan.
vocalizes, saying, like, Old Nan used to tell Theon stories, too. He wouldn't hurt her, would he? And Meera points out that it wasn't Theon that did the killing at Winterfell. There were too many dead Iron Men for that. And then she tells Bran, which is very sweet, that as long as he remembers Old Nan's stories in her voice, a part of her will always live in him. And so he promises that he will remember. Also, point of note, we skipped over it earlier, Bran likes watching Meera hunt, and it is fucking adorable. I mean, he likes looking at that ass, but one of our
He's got a little
listeners, I think
crushy.
Karen, points
I think
out
so.
that Bran's crush on Meera is adorable, and
It
it
really
absolutely is.
Um,
And she plays into it too, man, like
She
making
leans in,
faces
yeah,
at him
little
and
winks
winking.
and-
Yeah,
Do
Meera,
you think Jojen and Meera at this point assume it was the Boltons that did do it when they say Theon did not? And they just don't want Bran to know that one of your house has betrayed you
I would
as
like
well.
to say yes. I'd like to say I think they're clever enough to put that out, but I just don't know because they are still like young,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I'm not sure how much Howland Reed put into them as far as like strategical combat. I think so because they exchanged a glance at the look of the flayed men, which clearly to me stated that they understood that it was odd that
The Boltons.
the
are
flayed
running
men
around.
were running around the Wolf's Wood, and it was threatening to Northmen. And so, yeah, I think maybe it was sort of this
clicking moment.
clicking moment, but I don't know. Were they there? They were there when Reek showed up, and then Ramsay Bolton, right? Because Bran was the one who saw Ramsay break Theon's face. Is that correct?
I think so. No, that was a Theon chapter.
It was a Theon chapter. So, yeah, no, they might not have seen Ramsay
Right.
and everything appear, so they may still be missing a few pieces.
Right.
I don't think
But
quite yet.
Back to where we were, we know Nan's alive currently, being held captive, probably being tortured. I feel like Nan's probably not being tortured, that Nan's just serving her duties, doing chores like she would if she was at Winterfell just because she knows how to survive.
Well, right, and I had said that
she's a survivor.
The big twist on your
surviving.
stupid theory is that actually Old Nan is the vampire lord of the Dreadfort.
Fuck yes.
And fuck Roose Bolton.
I mean, there's actual evidence about Roose Bolton being a vampire.
Yeah,
but
no, he isn't. It's
Nan being one is cool. That's a fun tinfoil.
That's going to be the big twist at the end. Is it's Old Nan leading the others and shit.
Nan is the hooded
actually, that's
figure in
interesting
Winterfell.
because you just brought up in relation to the Davos chapter that maybe the Great War, R'hllor versus the Great Other. The other might be female. Maybe it is Nan, man.
Nan's the other.
She's the queen.
She's just been skirting around, pulling a full-on Mance Raider.
Right.
Like she's been living among the North and
spreading the
stories
stories
and the rumors and the fears, and they have to live off that fear. That's fucking cool.
Martin, please, like, I'm here for that.
Nan, the Ice Queen.
Yeah, just fucking twist it. Old Nan's the
Elsa ain't got shit on Nan.
I digress. So. Yeah, after a while of silence, Bran asks if they know any stories. You could maybe tell one as we walk.
God damn it, here we go.
Bran likes the stories of the knights, but Meera and Jojen tell him there's no knights in the neck, bro.
They sink,
There's
dude.
some below the bog, and Bran likes that thought, knights below the bog. Gives him a chill, but a good chill, because he likes the scarier stories, right? It is a creepy image.
But Meera says, I do know one about a knight.
In the year of the false spring. Here we go, listeners. You ready? The Knight of the Laughing Tree. He may have been a Crannogman. Or might not, Jojen asks.
Cool. So, as we're full spoiler, I assume many of you know about some of this stuff. Let's go into this with this thing here. I subscribe to the normal theory that most people do, that the Knight of the Laughing Tree is Lyanna. And I'll support with what little evidence I have that leaps out to some of my tinfoils as I want to do. Zach has thrown something else my way.
Yeah, I don't know what you people are talking about. The Knight of the Laughing Tree is Ned. There is no doubt in my mind that it is Ned. And this chapter, here is Zach explaining to you why the Knight of the Laughing Tree is Ned. Let us begin. Jojen just said, or might not have been the little Crannogmen.
Okay, so that points towards Lyanna,
and
or
then,
someone else other than Howland.
And then the next line is that, are you sure? Prince Bran doesn't want to hear this story. He's heard it 1,000 times from his Lord Father. And Bran's like, no.
Yeah, of course he would want to tout his sister and how great she was defending the Crannogmen. I'm going to be throwing the normal arguments here.
Right, for sure. Or tell the story of how me and my BFF in the world met. But, bromance. As we know, listeners, real talk real quick. We all know Martin loves a good bromance.
So also, I will point out that as I preface this with my love for Lyanna, Zach dropped some fucking bomb points here, yo. So strap in.
Once, there was a small Crannogman, Meera begins, smart and quick and brave. He learned all the magics of my people. And, of course, Bran can't keep his mouth shut for a dope story, so he interrupts asking... he thinks he's certain he's never heard this story. So, this is not a story old Nan has told. This is not a story he's heard from Ned. Any of Ned's retainers, Roderick, Lewin, Robb, Jon, Sansa, Arya. No one in fucking Winterfell has told Brandon Stark this story ever.
Right.
Ever.
Cool.
This is the tourney at Harrenhal.
Yeah. He knows the tourney at Harrenhal.
Right.
Right.
This is, history, and that's one of the biggest parts of the tournament. Mystery Knights showing up, Bran even thinks, are big fucking deals. People are like, yo, this is dope. And he never heard of this. This is intentionally kept from Bran. That portends a lot to the argument that the Knight of the Laughing Tree is Lyanna. That's why Ned never told it. On the flip, I just think it relates to Ned not wanting to bring up...
the Quiet Wolf.
The whole
he doesn't talk a lot
thing
about
is...
bring up Howland.
Howland brings up the Tower of Joy,
right.
Lyanna, Jon Snow, Rhaegar. It ain't good stuff.
So some of these magics here, I have some real sound theories of them just being normal things that are misconstrued as magics. Because the magics that he learns are, he can breathe the mud. A lot of different little reeds. He can they've made their snorkeling gear.
This could be magic or not.
He can run on the leaves.
Yep.
Is that which I feel like
I can do that, Helen.
Now, I believe this means like running through the trees,
Yeah,
up in the branches. And so I think that's, yes, learning the magic of people. Right. If you're nimble-footed and light, the Crannogmen we know are smaller. So I definitely think that's explainable.
Discipline, training.
Right. What's next there?
Change earth to water.
Right.
Or water to earth.
Now, I think being able to manipulate the mud and sticks in correct ways, dams, things like that, could correlate with this. But this is the one that I have the most fun thinking about. Because you started mentioning some
to me, this is how Greywater Watch. Greywater Keep? Greywater Watch. Greywater Watch.
Whatever one it is.
Moves around. They live in a boggy part of the swamp. And if, as we are told, the little Crannogmen here in this story, as we can all agree on, is Howland Reed, and therefore he is the one who learned these magics. He is able to change water to earth and earth to water. The only other time really we've heard of something like this is the Children of the Forest sinking the Arm of Dorne.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's literal, like, quicksandy kind of forming, moving around this keep, and he diddy-bops it around, and maybe he's not alone. It's a condensed effort of the magics of their people, as Meera describes it.
And so that could, as I mentioned, be different techniques in damming, manipulating mud to
have
build their buildings
explanation.
where they can their buildings are temporary and they can just drop them down into mud by throwing enough water on them. Or I like to believe that it's fully magical, that these guys they have this power to wield in their territory where they are. It's their freaking lair actions. They can just activate these things in their area that allow you to manipulate the terrain around you, and that's just a technique they've learned from living there for so long. And so he gets bored of this lifestyle.
Well, he could talk to trees.
Right? Northern gods. We know all about the werewoods.
Green sight potential.
But not
connection
quite
with we know Howland doesn't. Right. But maybe this is how Jojen, maybe through this connection, again, or could be, as you said, just praise to the old gods.
And this could be straight through, like, where they do have a bit of a more knowledge into tapping into speaking with the trees, gaining a little more of their knowledge.
One of the more interesting ones to me, could weave words.
Weave words, yeah. I believe this is, because we spoke a little bit about it before, part of me wants to think that he just knew some words in the children's language, which I believe, as we've heard,
it's almost like song,
is basically magic itself.
Yeah.
It's just weaving words, is casting spells or speaking in the children's language and affecting the nature, because that's how the words are. Their words affect nature just by being spoken. And so he knew some of that, and that would be potentially how he spoke with the trees.
And he could make castles appear and disappear.
Right. And that, again, I feel like it has potential with
He hired David Copperfield?
That, or the materials, knowing how to work the terrain that they are in, the trees.
But that's separate.
I'm
separate
of the train that it's all magic.
That's where it gets wild to me, is there's just too many things listed here as different bullet points. And so, yes, 3 out of the 5 or 7 whatever could just be science. Yes, they're manipulating the currents in this bog
and drying out this area so that people can't get through here, so it's all mud and murk.
But there's so many points that one of these has got to be something weird, right?
And I believe that all of them in some way are slightly magically enhanced, because I'm an asshole who believes every tinfoil theory. So everything that I'm saying, I disagree with. No, it's actual magic. These guys are the fucking coolest. I want to know more about the Reeds.
But as you said, when he reached manhood, he decided the world needed
exploring. Calling for him.
So he decided to visit the Isle of Faces, and Bran is, of course, you don't visit the Isle of Faces. That's where the green men are. And Meera says it was the green men he meant to find. So this is a quest. He's setting out.
Do you think he,
was
Rhaegar?
Summoned? Was he summoned through his tree talk?
My thoughts are, there was a moment where Rhaegar was in the library, very bookish, and one day he came across something, and he couldn't continue his education anymore. He had to do this instead.
Yep.
Howland hit this point where he heard the world calling out to him, yearning for him, and he needs to go there.
Was that through the trees that he heard that?
The trees that he was speaking with? Is it a song that he heard? Did he get some kind of knowledge? And so he had to go there. So he makes a boat, and he throws it over his back, and he just starts making his way.
Man, yeah.
He walks and paddles and makes his way out, down through to where he gets to He gets there, man, to the fucking Isle of
And
Faces.
Bran asks, did he meet the Green Men? And Meera says, yes. But that's another story, and not for me to tell, my prince. So obviously it's Howland's story to tell. So when do we get that story? Please and thank you. Because, listeners, I'm just going to say it again. This man went to the Isle of Faces seeking the Green Men, and it is confirmed that, yes, he found them.
Confirmed in a story.
In a story by his daughter,
right.
but yeah. That this is huge. This is something that will be revealed. It has to.
It'd be crazy not to.
Like, and it makes me wonder, because, you know, a lot of the questions about the heritage, about Lyanna and Rhaegar, is how that will be revealed. I think Rhaegar's the ticket. He's the one who is waiting to pull this trigger, and he knows he has to wait. Howland Reed, I think, has a pretty clear notion of events to come and events that are occurring. The War of the Five Kings, he's silent through because fuck that noise, that's nothing.
Well, basically what I was going to say was the way that we get it revealed is by being there.
Right.
Bran is going to go
That's
there.
what I feel like is... I almost feel like this is a meeting for Bran.
Right.
Like,
you needed this.
And Howland went there to be almost a conduit or just a vocal piece.
And so he's going, and I think you're absolutely onto that. I've not really heard that point. Howland has no need to be here for the War of the Five Kings. That's irrelevant. Like, yes, he helped his friend. He went through the stuff that he did with the kids and the children. But he probably, on this island, learned that he has a specific task.
Yes, he has something to do.
And so when that time
That's why Meera and Jojen are the ones going and dealing with Bran.
Right.
He's on the Isle of Faces. Why would he not go get Bran to train him?
Right.
Like,
because he has something
because
else
he
has
has
to do.
something more important.
Now, do you think somehow he correlates with becoming the Ice King in some way, or the new Ice King?
That's why I keep bringing up Davos. That's the question: is what God is serving what purpose?
Right.
And I don't know the motives of the gods in this story. I only can try to suss out the motives of the men. To me, this story shows me nothing but why Howland Reed is loyal to the Starks.
Yes.
And why in A Winds of Winter he's going to show up wielding a Stark banner, flying Ned's flag, saying, my best friend in the fucking world was murdered, and I did nothing because I need to help his children end the long night that's coming.
Right.
And here's why.
Great. So let's get to that now that we've sidetracked so heavily.
Get in there.
Let's get into the actual...
All winter, the Crannig men stayed on the Isle, but come spring, he said his farewells to the Green Men and took his leave. He rode until he saw a castle rising beside the lake.
Harrenhal!
And he knew that this must be the greatest castle in all the world, and Bran can't contain his excitement.
I love Bran listening to stories.
Meera says, was it? With a smile. And under its walls were tents and banners and knights on horses of all colors and shapes and sizes. A great tourney was underway. The king himself was there. So now, as we go through this, I'm going to be naming these people. So, the king himself was there. This is Aerys the Mad King, and with his son, the Dragon Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. The White Swords, the King's Guard, had come to welcome a new brother to their ranks, Jaime Lannister. The Storm Lord, Robert Baratheon, Bobby B, and the Rose Lord were there.
Tyrell.
The Lion of the Rock, Tywin, had quarreled with Aerys and had stayed away, but most of his bannermen and knights had attended.
Now, this is the
this
beginning
all tracks.
of when...
We know all this. This is,
Tywin not being there that's why he's away when the sacking comes, because he does not rejoin, I believe, until that point.
Right.
So, this is the start of that. We're all aware of that. This is where Lyanna gets crowned the
Queen of Love and Beauty. Yeah, this is the tragedy. And
anywho,
the Crannogmen wanted nothing so much as to be a part of it, and Bran immediately knows that feel.
That's fucking cool, man. Real quick to stop there, Howland's never experienced a tourney,
yeah, no,
yet.
dude, yeah,
like
for
at this
sure.
point, he's been locked away. He knows of the stories. He's heard the stories through his family, who has visited the Starks.
Right,
and
it's
done
the person
these things,
outside,
the Lord.
Obviously it's not, because the tourney is filled with douchebags and pricks, but, it's the person outside the fandom who's kind of like, hey, I'd like to, read it, and the fandom's like, here's every copy of the book. Like, that's what the Starks are doing, and that's how it's like, oh, this is really cool. How do I?
And they're like, come join us.
Yeah, and the
Be
Starks
our best
are
friend.
immediately like, get in here, kid. And so, yeah, and then, of course,
He comes up.
Meera goes through and Patreon, you should get the first Dunk and Egg episode. We get the rules. The
that
daughter
should be out by now,
right,
actually.
yeah. So the
it's
daughter,
really-
similar rules to the tourney that Dunk is attending at Ashford. The daughter of the castle of Harrenhal reigned as the Queen of Love and Beauty, with 5 champions defending her. Her 4 brothers and her uncle, Sir Oswell Went of the Kingsguard.
The Wents.
Brother of Lord Went of Harrenhal. And Bran asks if she was a fair maid, and she was, but there were others fairer still. The wife of the Dragon Prince, Elia Martell.
Ashara Dane's at this party.
Of course she is.
Lyanna Stark's at this party.
But Bran interrupts to whine about love stories. This isn't one of those love stories. Hodor doesn't like them.
I love that.
He likes the stories about knights fighting monsters.
I think this is a little bit of foreshadowing. Not the knights fighting monsters necessarily so much, but the projecting himself upon Hodor. Hodor hates this stuff. No, you hate this stuff. Hodor doesn't have a choice to.
Yeah, I don't like it.
You don't. He doesn't.
I don't like it.
Hodor hates these stories.
I get it. Like Bran's a kid, and like
Right.
for the most part of this chapter, I think he's like a cute kid just getting this. I don't like this. Hodor doesn't like it stuff because he has the ability to literally make that true, and it's Hodor is his victim. Like if what we know to be true, he broke Hodor, and like this is fucking torture. Like this is worse than Reek and Ramsay shit.
Because he doesn't even understand.
Right,
He's broken
like
in
Bran
this
is
way.
and
Or
Bran has
maybe
no
he'll-
clue. Bran is just doing it intrinsically, and like, it's gross, and I don't like it at all. But also real quick, or not real quick, Meera responds to sometimes the knights are the monsters.
Right.
Bran. I mean,
And then-
what in the flying fuck?
Like we haven't been getting that
Jaime
from
Lannister,
the Hound,
Hound,
every night that's come about. I mean, even
literal
in
personification with Sir Robert Strong in later books
Right.
of the mountain being
we
turned
just
to
run read Dunk and Egg, and there's the squires and knights in there
Right,
that
that
are
are
having those types of ordeals that they're
Manfred
shitty.
Dondarrion is
right.
a piece of
Piece
shit.
of shit, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
That's really interesting.
And Meera fucking
and she rolls right
poignant,
into
man.
the story with he comes upon some squires.
Yeah.
That just start giving him some shit.
No
man.
older than 15, and Howland has reached manhood at this point. But
Well, that's probably
they're still
16,
bigger
17?
than yeah, for sure.
Right.
Not like 20s yet, but still they are much bigger than him.
Right, 'cause he's a
Crannogmen are
Crannogman.
little, which
Halflings?
children of the
Hobbits,
forest
children
are
of the
known
forest,
to be
direct-
little,
direct
and
relatives.
these people are little. So
Right.
again, these connections to the Crannogmen and the children. But Bran immediately asks, "Were they Walders?" And
There's the water.
they're like, there it is again. None gave their names, but he marked well each of their faces, so he might revenge themselves on them later. And as he lay curled on the ground, they would shove him as he tried to get up and kick him, until a voice roared, "That's my father's man you're kicking!" Howled the she-wolf, Lyanna.
Fucking Lyanna coming up all fucking
A new
grizzled.
fighter has arrived! And Bran asks, a wolf on 2 legs? Or 4? Bran is fucking in it.
Dude,
he
he
is
just-
in
yeah.
this story. It is a fictitious fairy tale that he is not at all like
Understanding that
putting
this actually...
any people's names to faces or descriptions, nothing.
Would you like to know what your Aunt Lyanna said? Like, let me tell
Right.
you. Fuck.
So she answers 2. The she-wolf scattered the squires with a tourney sword and brought the Crannogmen back to her lair to see to his wounds. And there he met her pack brothers.
Yes.
The wild wolf who led them,
Brendan Stark,
the quiet wolf beside him,
Ned Stark.
couldn't help but notice that Ned's the quiet wolf. I immediately think of Ghost.
Ghost, yeah. Oh, dude, that's cool.
The silent wolf.
Silent Wolf. Oh, shit.
And so it's odd that the bastard ends up with the wolf most like their father and literally described in this story
Dude, as the quiet
as
wolf.
the quiet wolf.
That's fucking dope.
And the
very
pup who was the youngest of the 4.
Benjen.
The she-wolf insisted that the Crannogmen attend the feast that night with them, as he was of high birth and had any right to attend, as much of any right as anyone else there.
Awesome.
And
See, and that's, again, showing just that natural honor of the Starks.
Right.
Like, you have every right to be there. Of course you should join us.
And the she-wolf was quite hard to refuse. So the young pup, Benjen, found him suitable garb, and to the king's hall they went.
Oh, Benjen's like, yo, bro, check out this shit. You can see some sweet kicks over in here.
So that night, he ate and drank with the wolves and many of their sworn swords as well. The dragon prince Rhaegar sang a song so sweet it made the wolf maid sniffle.
Made Zach cry, too, because Zach's a bitch for Rhaegar.
But when her pup brother teased her for crying, she poured wine over his head. Oh. Are they already in love here?
I don't think so.
Or is this the attraction building?
He sees how his song affected her, and this is going to lead into a little bit more of what I have to play on here that I believe myself, which is not your wonderful Ned theory.
For sure. Because I know some of our listeners, Julian, for instance, had pointed out that he wasn't entirely clear on like the meaning of this story. So this is history. This is something that happened legitimately, and apparently Bran has been kept from. But this here is Rhaegar. He played his harp, as he's known for, being very soft and sensual, and it made Lyanna cry during this. And this is a huge moment of him leading to him naming her the Queen of Love and Beauty, which led to him kidnapping, in quotes, if you'd like, her, which led to Robert's Rebellion, which led to her death, which led to Jon Snow.
So, because we know with the, I'm just going to go forward from here, where after the knight is fighting, does the fighting, and shows the squires their lessons and leaves, Rhaegar is tasked with hunting down that Knight of the Laughing Tree.
By Aerys,
and the only thing that they find is the shield. I believe that's not true.
Right.
The group that went out with Rhaegar includes one Lonmouth, and Zach fucking hates this, but I'm still. I feel like this
I rolled my eyes, so he had to.
I feel like this is one of my actually could be some fact in here, but the group that went out to find Lyanna, I feel like Rhaegar did find her, and they were let in on the secret and saw that there was the attraction that was building, this romance, and Lonmouth is actually Lemon Cloak. The cloak he's wearing is still that same cloak that he wore when they went out on their travels. I'd have to refresh my memory on the facts on how this all works out, because there's some sweet stuff, but I believe this is the start of something new.
Oh, wow.
You know? And so they're falling in love here.
See, for me, I just find it hard to believe that if there's a squad in on it, as Ned Stark says, too many people knowing is too many. It would have gotten out. And so I think at this point, I think they may have already kind of had a spark for each other. And
if that's the case too, to me, it could be that if they did know each other before. Well, fuck, this is just a time. Oh, it was you? Bitch, get over here.
And see, I could almost see it being Rhaegar finds the Laughing Knight, but again, it's Ned. And for the new fire he's harboring for Ned's sister, it's I won't turn you in if
that could be cool.
You introduce me to your sister type thing.
Damn it with your cool little fucking.
So, anyway, continuing forward.
Yes.
A black brother spoke, asking men to join the Night's Watch. Nate and I did some digging to figure this, but this is Yoren, 100%. As Yoren has stated, as he has Arya and everything, that he was injured 30 years prior, and he died in 299 AC. This tourney takes place in 286, and so
285,
he is within the time of being injured and then being set to a recruiter. So it's most likely Yoren. I could be wrong.
It could be someone else that's doing it, but we do know that
yet unnamed. But
Harrenhal was on his path,
right? And Yoren was recruiting at that point, so very likely to be him. The Stormlord, Bobby B, outdrank the Knight of Skulls and Kisses, Nate's Richard Lonmouth, in a game of cups.
I'm just excited.
Oh, yeah, you were just smiling wide.
I just love it. I love it.
A maid with purple eyes danced with a white sword.
Ashara Dane here is dancing with
either
Barry the Bold,
who has a crush on her.
He's
crushing, or her brother, Sir Arthur Dane. And God, I like that dance a lot better than Barry the Bold.
I like the idea of Barry.
She also danced with a red snake, Oberyn Martell, my boy, and the Lord of Griffins, John Connington.
Who I feel like he just...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's
keeping up appearances. It was Rhaegar he wanted to dance with.
Which is too bad, because I bet Oberyn would dance with Rhaegar, too.
Oh, Oberyn and Jon Con should have danced.
Right?
That would have been
fucking great. And I bet fucking Oberyn put some moves on him.
Oberyn...
Shit.
What a dashing man. And lastly, Ashara Dane danced with the Quiet Wolf, Lord Eddard Stark himself.
But only because the Wild Wolf went and asked on his behalf. Because he's too scared and shy.
Yeah. So, adorable revelation of Ned, and this also sparks the rumors that the bastard comes from Ashara Dane.
Which is clearly the true case.
I would like to point out that a maid with purple eyes danced with a white sword. The way it opens is very similar to a maid with purple venom and snakes in her hair. The prophecy about Sansa. And I just don't know.
Ashara is kind of a...
Is she poisoned? Is she tainted? Is there...
Maybe that purpling. I mean, because we do know that the Danes are known for their purple eyes. Because I think Arthur...
I mean, Ashara Dane's dead, supposedly. She threw herself off a tower.
With the delivery of a sword.
But... Yes, with the delivery of Dawn.
Is this the last time that they see each other until that time?
I believe so, yes.
Because there's also rumors that there is a Ned bastard floating about down in the south.
Save the last dance for me, Ned.
So, who knows what could be happening.
Yeah, fucking great stuff. I love this stuff. And so during all this, the Crannig men had spied his 3 attackers. One served a pitchfork knight, which is House Hay. One, a porcupine, which is House Blunt, and the squire or the knight himself could actually be Boros Blount. He is of age for that, the Kingsguard, and it would make sense as he clearly wouldn't be appointed to the Kingsguard if he didn't have some skill with a blade. Right. And the third, of course, attended a fray of the crossing. And so the Crannig men points them out to the wolf pack, and... Of course, the wolf pup's like, well, we could get you some armor, and
you can handle some business.
Lyanna's like, we'll get you a horse, and he's torn because he's small and no great fighter, and he fears he would make a fool of himself and shame his people.
Now, I think that lack of confidence there is what makes him out. It leads us all to believe he is not the knight.
He is not the knight.
It's not.
Right.
He doesn't have, and not that he's not capable. His lack of confidence in his abilities is usually what actually leads to people's failure.
Right. You're not going to jump into a tournament at your very first one and down 3 knights. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, not that there's not the possibilities. You know, the Barristan the Bold and the Jaime Lannister type deals. It's occurred, but he just doesn't have the confidence in himself right now that I feel like he would be capable of that kind of thing at the moment.
The Quiet Wolf, Ned, offered him a place in his tent that night, and before he went to sleep, the Crannig men walked to the lake shore, looking across the lake at the isle where he knew the Isle of Faces to be, and said a prayer to the old gods of the north and the neck. And so, listeners, here is my theory. Eddard Stark overheard this prayer. Heading to the lake shore himself, as Eddard Stark is wont to do, he likes to pray in front of a heart tree. He very much so would be aware that there's the heart trees, there's literally the Isle of Faces, which is full of them, right across the lake. So I could see him going to the lakefront himself to try to sharpen a blade. Or perhaps he just overhears the little Crannig men. He hears Howland Reed's prayer, 1, solidifying his allegiance to the old gods of the north, and 2, Ned's honor gets flared up, and Ned agrees to fight for him here. And this is the start of the most beautiful friendship that we haven't yet seen, and that's... you're not telling me it's wrong.
You think Ned is small enough to fit that small statured?
I think at this point,
I don't think we technically get description at the moment of Lyanna. It's
ill-fitting armor. It's not a small knight. Right, it's ill-fitting armor.
When you're on a horse, the armor doesn't fit. You can't tell what size of a man is in there, which just means that the person that is the knight, they've collected arbitrary pieces just to not be wearing any particular type of sigil. Where did they get that one? Did they have it painted or just found?
That's my question: is where did the shield fucking come from? Mm-hmm. And then immediately, as Meera's saying this, Jojen cuts in. You've never heard this tale from your father, Bran. And again, this is we just got the point where it's Howland Reed and Ned Stark are alone in a tent now. You've never heard this bit, you've never heard this from your father, Bran, ever. Are you sure? Because to me, that is. Read between the lines. That's Jojen saying, this is a story Howland told us fucking all the time. All the fucking time.
And Ned took me into his tent.
Right.
And he knelt before me and
swore to uphold my honor and
uphold the
fight
vows.
for me.
Because as the Starks in the show, we see every time that somebody... and it's obviously derived from the books, when they pledged their loyalty, and I pledged to never ask you anything of you that would dishonor you, I pledged to keep you housed and fed. Right. They have pledges as lords. And so hearing somebody being so faithful to the North that way and being disgraced by those Southern group, I could absolutely see him.
In his prayers, I'm sure, because it goes through it, that Howland felt like he would shame his people. So I'm sure that was included in his prayers. I want to do something, but I can't. I know
I'm not capable.
And so if Ned heard that,
he would take him and get down on his knees. Right. Thank you for having that loyalty. My house is pledged to
protect
provide
yours.
With the honor and the protection needed. I will do this.
I'll stand for you. Yeah.
Let's do this. And now their bromance.
And then so Jojen just asking that, you never heard this, and then Bran says, no, it was old Nan who told the story. Basically, shut the fuck up, Jojen, Meera, go.
I also think it goes to show that Ned didn't tell stories to them.
Not about this.
I think that in general,
it was old Nan who told the stories,
and
right?
So
but
I think that just goes to show that Ned didn't know how to tell any of the stories without.
Yeah, obviously there was a much different dynamic between the Reeds and the Stark children.
Right.
Like Howland, it seems to me, was a little more forthright about everything.
Absolutely. Well, again,
and maybe not like Jon Snow.
He might have
Jon
reason.
Snow's lineage and stuff, but he might have a bigger goal.
I need my children to know what they need to go on their
so
path
I can
to help Bran,
mine,
so that I'm capable of doing what I need to have done. Absolutely.
So all 4 sons of Harrenhal, the champions, were defeated on the first day, and as it happened, the 3 attackers happened to win a place among the champions throughout the tournament. But late on the second day, a mystery knight appeared. And Bran nods sagely at this.
Yes,
and he's
mystery
like,
knights, right. Yes, of course.
Of course.
Of course we need a mystery
Barry
knight.
the Bold has done it twice.
And when he was 10 the first time? Fuck yeah, Barry.
And Bran is like, I bet it's the little Crannogmen. And she says, no one knew, but the knight was small of stature, and the armor was ill-fitting. The device on the shield was a heart tree of the old gods with a white werewood with a laughing red face. And Bran says maybe he came from the Isle of Faces. In Old Nan's stories, the Guardians had dark green skin and leaves instead of hair.
Couldn't see his face, though. Because was he green?
The Guardians.
The Guardians of the Isle?
Is that just the Isle of Faces?
And
I think I would assume that's the title given to those on the Isle of Faces, but the Guardians. So Howland Reed met with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. The Guardians.
Guardians. Right.
Cool.
Neat.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
I lost my place.
Your place?
I
Yeah,
did.
You did.
Perhaps they did. Meera agrees, and so the knight, of course, dipped his lance to the king and then challenged, you can guess.
And knocked all 3 the fuck out.
And as none of the 3 were well loved, the crowd cheered lustily for the Knight of the Laughing Tree,
as is often
came
done.
to be called, right. And when the 3 knights returned for their ransom, a booming voice in the helm yelled, "Teach your squires honor, and that shall be ransom enough."
Now, my... Skirt. Go back to the beginning.
Is Lyanna Howell. That's my father's man you're kicking.
Has a very loud and booming voice that can project. And if you put it into a fucking tin helmet and you just do things like this, it alters everything, dude. So it could absolutely just show evidence that it could be a female.
Yes,
there's no.
I don't dispute that.
No,
that
I know
she is given claim in the first
and
bit
so
of
just
this to
point
be
it out for
yelling loudly.
We're throwing 2 theories at some people
For
who haven't
sure.
heard any of them. So
because I'm sure plenty of you can come up with reasons why Ned Stark is obviously not, and so it's
here we go.
Right, it's
come
it's
at
good.
us with it.
Yeah, please. And so the 3 knights immediately chastised their squires harshly, and the arms and armor were given back. And so the little Crannogmen's prayers were answered by the green men, by the old gods, or by the children of the forest, who can say? And see, this is the fairy tale.
Right.
This is where Meera knows the answer.
Twists it. Yeah.
Right, and so Bran is obviously jumping on the isle, like, oh, I bet it was the little green men, they're doing it. And she's like, yeah, who knows who answered his prayers.
Right.
This is the myth.
And so they want to know who the knight is. So that's when the king the next day is going to demand that he's unhelmed, so that they
Bobby
can be
B
revealed.
also was like, I'm gonna unmask that motherfucker.
But I think that's Bobby B with part of the.
Oh, of course. The bravado.
Hold on. Some mystery knight coming in, just whooping ass. Let's go, me and you, motherfucker. And so he was going into like, nobody can take on the mystery knight. I'll fight your mystery knight. Let's go, bro.
And Ares himself was basically promoting men to challenge him, as he said, any man who would hide his face behind a helm is no friend of mine, which is...
I think a little paranoia.
Well, no shit.
Because, like, Mystery Knights are...
And that was why I brought up the Sir Oswell Went of the Kingsguard. It's rumored that this whole tourney kind of started because of him speaking to his brother.
Right.
And the only reason Aerys is here is because Rhaegar caught wind that this may be a chance for a Grand Council to be summoned to get Aerys off the fucking throne. And so Aerys in his paranoia was like, I'm going to that shit. I don't care if I didn't get invited. Even though he probably was because he's the king. But so that's why he's here. It's pure fucking paranoia that Aerys is even here. So of course a Mystery Knight, he's like, nah. And then, yeah, it was Richard Lonmouth, and as you think.
Yeah, all that jazz.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yes. The next morning, though, the night had vanished. The king was wroth and sent his son Rhaegar to find him, but all that was found was the painted shield, abandoned in the tree, and it was the Dragon Prince who won the tourney in the end.
Right, and he then crowned...
Well, Bran has some notes, of course, because he's like, it should have been the 3 knights and not their squires, so the Crannig men could have killed them all.
All right, murder hobo.
Holy shit, Bran.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Bran. What the fuck? All right.
I mean, granted, you gotta remember what kind of stories old Nan's been telling with ice spiders, biggest hounds ripping the heads off of fucking children and shit. But I concur. What the fuck, Bran?
The ransoms were stupid. That concerns me, because regardless of who the Laughing Tree, it's a Stark. They're upholding, like, that Stark honor. And so for Bran to be, like, the chastisement of the squires to learn the lesson that the Starks are trying to prove here, like, uh-oh, Bran.
I think this is the nobility showing in Bran.
Oh, the privilege,
He's used to the stories, like, just make up the shit that he likes, and it's less like, no, Arya and Sansa aren't here, so tell the stories that I want to hear, not the, here's a lesson. No, they got this magic sword that lights on fire when you raise it in the, that's what he wants them to be given, like, not, he still doesn't understand that this is all based in fact. This all actually occurred.
Right,
He's
true.
expecting
he
a fairy tale story,
yeah.
and there's not. And he's like, why? Why would you do this?
And his last note is just that the Mystery Knight should have won the tourney and named the Wolf Maid the Queen of Love and Beauty.
Oh, she did. But that's a sadder story for another day.
You're sure you've never heard this story? Your Lord Father never told it to you, Bran. Really? Nothing? R plus L equals J? Nothing like that? Popping out from stories you've heard? Oh, okay.
The fuck, brah.
Yeah. This is huge.
Yeah.
And Ned kept it. And so that, I mean, you almost can respect him for it, for the secret, the devotion to the secret, where he wouldn't even tell the meeting of him and Howland. But that also makes me wonder, was Ned clued in to the great game?
Oh, maybe. I mean, he's...
So, like, I've been doing some thinking, and, like, maybe we as a fandom have fucked Ned over, and Ned Stark is the true player of the Game of Thrones. And Howland Reed was like, bro, I talked to the Guardians, and, like, darkness is coming, and, like, it gets wild. Like, obviously, I don't think it was here that Howland got, because he went out and experienced the world after that winter he spent. But maybe as things started getting real, he could have told Ned if the theory that he's got a mission was true. Why wouldn't he? And in that case, maybe that explains Ned Stark's silence. Why Howland Reed is informing his children, but Ned Stark isn't. Not even his wife. He's dealing with his wife, literally abusing his nephew, basically. Scolding, ignoring him, that type of thing. Not abusing, that's a bit harsh, but mentally, right, for sure.
Emotionally.
And so, what if he was playing the longest game and fighting the Great War, not the petty War of the Five Kings shit? And I think that would be a really cool reveal of Howland sits these Stark kids down at some point and is like, your father knew. Bran, he knew you were going to be the three-eyed raven. Arya, he knew you were going to be...
Now, here's what I find weird about this, is I had mentioned earlier that he doesn't understand that this is a fairy tale, or not a fairy tale. He specifically is the one that pointed out that they were phrased based on their sigil. Mm-hmm. He's aware of all the other sigils that were being set.
Right.
Wolves. How do you not how...
Yeah.
Like, 3 brothers and a sister? Oh, like Uncle Brandon,
The
Uncle
Dragon
Benjen,
Prince
Dad,
was
and
there, yeah.
Lyanna. Like, oh, the Dragon Prince. Like, all these things that are... He is not stupid by any means.
No.
And of all things, he knows the sigils. That confuses me.
I think he answers it right here when he says he thinks that maybe he can visit the Isle of Faces. Green men are said to have strange magics, and maybe they could help him walk again, or even turn him into a knight. They turn the Crannogmen into a knight, even if it was for just a day. Just a day would be enough. It's magic to him.
Right.
This isn't this isn't humans being bro subreddit. This is humans being bros. It's magic. This is a fairy tale. This doesn't happen. And it did. It did happen. This is Ned Stark, Lyanna, whichever, standing
Based
up
on a
for
true
someone's
story.
honor. Yeah, right. And
Inspired by actual events.
Bran is thinking it's fictitious, and so to him it's I don't like it. I don't like the way he reacts to this story. I think it bodes very not well for his trajectory at all with just the things he focuses on. And yeah, that was sort of the thing I couldn't get over, is that he sees what he wants to see in what he's...
Right.
And whatever it is.
He's slowly building this. Ever since they started calling him their prince and stuff, he's almost built up this without even seeing it. It's very subtle, this... fucking what's the little cunt?
Joffrey-esque-ality.
I'm more Hodor doesn't like this, make it stop. He's just very noble without even realizing he's doing it by projecting it onto Hodor and onto... No, Hodor doesn't like this. Hodor doesn't like the story with the kissing. Let's stop that. You're done telling me this part. That's enough of that. Mm-hmm. He's just embraced that power so quickly, just because they're also willing to listen. But
yeah, that's the end of what is that? Brand 2, Brand 3, Brand 3.
Maybe.
And it's a doozy.
Yeah.
The Night of the Laughing Tree, a really good story within a story, and one of Martin's best used.
And then secret stories that haven't been told yet that are just hidden within.
Right.
Fuck.
Lots of theories, obviously, that I have on what occurred here. Mine is a little more out there than the leading going one, which is that it's Lyanna. I like to think there's a lot more at play with those two beings.
And like Zach said, there's the theories about the Great Lords coming here to meet with Rhaegar, I actually think it was, to overthrow his father, because they're all understanding he's wackadoo.
Yeah.
There's theories, like I mentioned, where, it's Rhaegar and Lyanna running off and Lemoncloak being involved in crazy ways.
Right.
And, there's so many different things, so... send us in your favorite ones.
Yeah,
Let us know what
for
you
sure.
like.
This is a big one to get into, so yeah, we want to hear all your guys' thoughts on the Night of the Laughing Tree stuff. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and convene our small council and get inductees.
We'll see you over there. Whoa, what a chapter.
What up, Guardians?
What up, Guardians? Hello. There are small council members.
I know.
But we can get some Guardians, dude. Maybe that'll be another, a Patreon tier instead of the Initiate.
Well, we certainly don't want to step on
the Isle of Faces.
The Isle of Buckley's, Joe
Buckley's
feet, of course,
yeah,
with
so
the Isle of Faces. But maybe his Guardians come over and just
see us like Howland Reed. We've also visited the Isle of Faces.
Right,
so
we have. We know what's going on.
We've come back. We can't reveal all the secrets.
I mean, fuck that. We're a full spoiler reread. You want to know how this shit ends?
You want to know everything?
All right, we have some inductees to read, but first, we're going to give our own.
You first.
Me first. This one's hard.
It's a really hard one. What do you got, kid?
Meera.
Nice.
For the story. She embellishes where she needs to embellish, but it's also a history lesson. And I think Jojen and Meera both learn a lot about Bran here when she's telling this story in his reaction. Jojen obviously is very single-minded in sort of Bran's reaction, you sure you haven't heard this before? And sussing out that's curious to Jojen that Bran hasn't. And then Meera's just adorable, and I love her. So I liked her telling it, and her dealing with Bran's interruptions the way she does, and if a certain prince would stop talking, then the story would progress a little quicker.
A little faster, and we'll find the knight.
Yeah,
right.
And so Meera, she killed it with that story. Yours?
Mine is because because there's obviously a million characters
Right.
here from this one we can go to, but I wanted to try and keep mine more related to the Bran
Present,
chapter.
yeah.
And so I'm actually going to give it to the quote-unquote the little man in the cave.
The little...
I feel like there's room, because Bran tends to meet a lot of these individuals along his path, whether it's
wayward travelers,
like Samwell Tarly coming across Gilly and them coming through the wall, and like the Cold Hands and this guy, and just all these various little instances. And so I'd like to think that, I mean, maybe we'll even see this little guy through Stannis or Theon come wins, wins.
Yeah,
I'm fucking thinking a dream all of a sudden. But, maybe he's going to come and be some of the Northern Hill tribes that come and assist Stannis take back the North or something. But I really like just that Northern honor that he shows with leaving food, not asking for names, almost hinting that, and like I guarantee that, if not what we discussed earlier, Bran and Meera at least picked up on the implications that he knows that's Bran and
right,
Summer.
Right. Yeah.
I know they're asking after a wolf, a stranger, this, and they're like, fuck, he knows. But all he did was leave them some food and share the warm space with them.
Right.
And so I'm giving it to that little guy.
The little guy.
Right. So
cool. Well, we did get inductees from some of you loyal listeners. First, we'll hear from Karen. Karen had a lot of good stuff to say about this chapter. She also wanted to shout out Sam the Slayer for getting those birds off, and at least one person understanding that they mean some bad shit is coming. And then she says her inductee, well, I'm going all in on A Song of Ice and Fire this week. I am inducting the she-wolf, the Laughing Knight herself, Lyanna Stark.
yes.
From the land of sometimes winter, Karen. All right, those are fighting words, Karen, but I respect your inductee. Lyanna Stark, the rumored Knight of the Laughing Tree, we'll say, is a great inductee. Of course, she's always welcome.
Absolutely.
I love the she-wolf, regardless of whether she wore the ill-fitting armor or not. She didn't.
Yes, awesome inductee. So we also got some correspondence from our wonderful friend Julian in France. Thank you for writing in. He had asked some questions about that story. I think we covered most of it. And hopefully, if not, send us some messages, specifics that you might want us to talk over there, and we'll see what we can get. And so his inductee for this chapter is young Barry the Bold. Bold indeed, entering tournaments at 10 as a mystery knight. Badass. Have a good day, Valar Boldaris. Thank you, Julian. I agree.
The bold and the beautiful.
I love getting these tidbits of Barristan the Bold history. Just him doing these fucking cool feats. 10 years old, the kid's whooping people's asses.
I mean, that is a very quickly, very easily recalled fact by Bran. Of like, oh yeah, Barry the Bold did it twice.
Yeah.
Once when he was 10. Like, that's just
out the barrel. Off the top
like,
of his
this
head.
kid can't recognize that this story is a fucking real-life thing that happened. But
See, that's what's funny.
But he's still just like, yeah, Barry the Bold did the Mystery Knight thing.
Barristan the Bold was in the story
I know.
5 minutes ago.
I am aware.
And that's what is mind-boggling. What are you doing, kid? Like, you're actually naming one of the participants in the shit.
I think it's really just meant to highlight that his focus is on these green men, this learning to fly, this children of the forest is going to fix me, make me a knight, make me someone who's not broken anymore, who's able to do something. And what that something is, I think, is evil intent, because Bran is a little sociopath. But
so I also wanted to, they didn't send an inductee for this chapter, but they've been sending in a bunch of discussion for the Game of Thrones book that they're currently listening to episodes on.
Right.
A recent brand new subscriber to our Patreon, Kristen.
Kristen!
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you very much
for
for subscribing to that.
Patron.
Hopefully you're enjoying that Duncan egg. Expect the next one very soon.
And yeah, the next one will be, I think we're working on, or if we... Who knows when it should be here soon. I'll have a date coming for you in the future, but it should be pretty soon actually. So
yeah, and then next episode we're gonna be reading Davos 3.
Yes.
He's going to be in his celly talking to Melisandre. He's gonna be on his celly, like, what up, Mel? What up, girl?
Yeah, dude, that's what they do. They just FaceTime.
Yeah,
so
it's fucking... I mean, they're respecting social distancing protocols, because in America, we're still ravaged by this thing called the coronavirus. And so, join us as Davos and Melisandre social distance.
It's not Melisandre.
It is.
It's not.
It's not.
It's Melisandre.
That's a city in my D&D world. Melisandre and Davos, social distance, next chapter, and it's a great one.
So check out our website, Brotherhood Without... What the fuck is our website?
Oh my God, dude.
What is our website, Zach?
You started the sentence. I didn't claim to know it from the beginning. You started the sentence confidently and then just fucked it.
I'm a confident dude. BrotherhoodWithout.com. You can also check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. There's a private Facebook group. I need to get an invite over to Kristen here soon.
Hey.
That is only accessible if you are a patron. We can be reached via email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. The Patreon that I was just speaking about, patreon.com/withoutmanners. We're on Twitter, @mannerswithout. You're on Twitter @carstark92 when I tag you on something and force a notification.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter.
There's also our Instagram where I think you do things on there, but probably not because you're useless. And leave us a rate and review Apple Podcasts. I don't think you can review on Spotify, but follow us over there because that's always cool and fun. RateThisPodcast.com/Brotherhood. It'll just give you the option to pick whichever one's easiest for you. We love you guys. Stay healthy and don't die because of stupid virus shit because there's idiots that don't want to get vaccinated because they're morons. Stay well. Vala de Harris.
Peace.